Is it possible to meet the love of your life? I have. And I didn't meet him until I was 46, which sounds like, wow, do I have to wait that long? But considering that I'm turning 55 soon, that's not that bad. We're going to be together for 9 years in November. And we created a really quirky, wonderful, loving, blended family. Both of us feel like we're in this together, and we have goals. We feel like a team. I mean, there's love, there's lust, there's admiration, a lot of things, that trust, that I think are crucial for a satisfying, good, healthy relationship. So I didn't have that before. This is not my first relationship. I've had marriage, a long-term relationship before, and after a few years, I already knew that we weren't headed in a good direction. But women, like, I keep seeing online that women feel like there is no man out there for me, right? And you're not meeting the right guy. It's just not happening. Everybody else seems to be happily hooked up, but you're not. When I was really, really young, if you look at my other videos, you will see that I suffered from an eating disorder. I've had depression, anxiety, and a number of challenges in my life when I was very young. I grew up without a mom from the age of 5. And I guess that created some kind of feelings of abandonment. So I tended, because of my low self-esteem, to go after the guys that paid attention to me. And not always, because I remember some very cool guys that I wish I had dated who told me that they wanted to date me when I was really young. And I said, no, because we don't know each other. And now I realize that when you're 16 or 17, the point is to get to know each other. But besides that, when I was older, it was always more like I didn't consider qualities in a partner. I was just wowed by them, wowed by the moment, the situation. And although I do not regret any of my past relationships, now I can see what I could have done before entering those relationships to make them better, and also to make myself better. Number one, I had to work on myself first, and I had to realize that I was lovable. I was lovable, and I was okay on my own. And only when you're okay on your own can you be okay with somebody else. I also had to recognize a lot of my own faults and work on them so that I could be, again, ready to meet the right person for me to make a good relationship and not a stormy one, or one that is uneven. Before I met my now ex-husband, I made a list. I made a list after my first long relationship, which went from when I was 23, like really long, until I was 30. And this was a person who was older than me. He had kids, and I thought, of course, as young women think, that I would change him and that he would eventually want kids. And his kids are great. We're friends on Facebook still. They were 5 and 7 when we met. Now they're 36 and 38. And the point is, I thought that, well, I would change him and he would eventually want kids. He would eventually want to get married. And of course, none of that happened. And there were also other issues with the relationship. And well, the relationship ended, and I did know one thing. When I was already in my 30s, between 30 and 35, I knew that if I was going to enter a relationship, I wanted the guy to want to get married and to want to have a kid or more. So that was kind of the only thing that I was asking for, is that, well, I didn't really know what a good relationship was, but I did know that I did not want to be with somebody who didn't want kids and didn't want to get married. So I had 5 years of exploration, and when I met my now ex-husband, I remember telling him, if you met the person that you think is it, would you get married and have kids? Because otherwise, if you don't want that, let's just not even date, okay? So that was really the only quality that I had asked for, or that's not even a quality, that's the only thing that I had in my mind. And he said yes, so we went ahead and got married and had children. It is wonderful. I love my kids. I would absolutely change nothing about anything that happened, because they wouldn't be the kids they are, and they wouldn't have the dad they have, and they wouldn't, the whole thing wouldn't have been the way it is. I wouldn't have moved to the United States with my ex-husband, and I wouldn't have met my current husband. So everything happens for a reason. And I honestly think that even from mistakes, we can definitely learn. If something made you grow and improve as a person, as painful as it might have been, for me, it is a positive experience in the long run. I enjoyed my single years, but I also am the kind of person that wanted to build a family. That was my dream since I was very young. And perhaps it was because I did not have the kind of family that I wanted to create it for myself. But even at 45, when my kids were 4 and 7, I still didn't give up on the idea that I could eventually have a family that included a significant other. So this time I did something a little different. Instead of just saying what I don't want, which was back then a man who, didn't want kids and didn't want to get married. That's what I didn't want. And I didn't want him to be jaded and all that. So this time I made a list, and I made a list that is 2 pages of the qualities that I wanted in a partner. And I wrote this, and I think this is all very important, November 6th of 2009, okay? And I'm going to read you everything, because I just read it to my husband. We laughed together about what I had written. I wanted him to be within 10 years of my age. I wanted him to be intelligent, curious, and always wanting to improve himself. Spiritual, but not religious. Loves my kids, is happy with himself, self-motivated, interesting and fun to talk to, can talk with me for hours, sexy and toned. Taller than me. My husband is very tall. Has hair and good teeth. And there's an explanation to that, because I had a date with somebody whose teeth fell in his soup or something. It was awful. So well groomed. There's a lot of stuff out there that you don't want to see. Practices a sport or exercises, but I also didn't want him to be a complete exercise buff, like fitness buff, because I had seen that men who were so into fitness sometimes weren't into their women. But educated and wanting to learn always, financially stable, willing to support my personal dreams, accepts my financial situation, because I was broke as a joke, and my need for meds, because if you've seen my other videos, I take meds for depression and anxiety. Respects my privacy, is faithful and loyal. I've had relationships that were not. Wants to please me, has great sex with me, is not jealous, is open-minded, has my kind of sense of humor, likes to travel, spontaneous, is adaptable, sexy, I was obsessed with sexy, obviously, and sexually gratifying, romantic and thoughtful, speaks more than one language, bicultural, loves the outdoors, is my best friend, and has a kid. And that was that. I wrote this on, as I said, November 6th of 2009, and I was introduced to Philippe Diedrich, my husband, who's also an author and a writer, on November 11. And we talked over the phone, and we met in person on the 18th, November 18th. And on November 29, I wrote, "Not in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that I would meet somebody like Philippe. I just checked my list of things I wanted in a man, and he meets it all." Imagine. So, just putting it out there, I don't know why it happened. I don't know. Some people will say, well, it's the law of attraction. You put it out there and it happens. I had had a number of bad dates. I had had a number of unfortunate experiences in my life in general, and, even in my in-between phase. So still, I believe in the power of writing things down, and I think that it is more than because it's also going to just attract magically the man of your dreams. I think it makes one more discerning. So I also have a list, which I talk about in some of my books, is a list of attributes and things that one should know beforehand that are deal breakers. Sometimes we allow ourselves to get infatuated, and there's something in the saying, you know, there's danger, danger, and we don't pay attention to it. But if we have a list of attributes, if we have, and maybe, I mean, some of them might sound silly and trite, but there is no right or wrong list. Your list is your list. And if you want to throw in whatever, you know, an exact height, an exact nationality, an exact profession, I don't know. It's weird that not only did the love of my life meet all of this, but also turn out to be a writer, a bilingual, multicultural, have a kid of the same age as my kids, and so many more things, and practically have almost the same character that I have. So there were so many other things that were added to that list after we met, in the sense that he turned out to be way better than I had asked for. But the reason I share this is because that's my story of success, and we're going 9 years strong. It's not like we met last month and I'm saying, woo, I met him and look at this. 9 years is plenty to realize, yes, this guy is trustworthy, this guy is stable, this guy is fun, this guy is intelligent, this guy is a team person, and loving, and all that. I think also one of the most important things that one can have after you meet the love of your life is to admire that person, to trust that person. But trust, admiration, and lust, I think, are three very important things to have in a relationship. And again, if you still haven't met that guy or that woman, once again, writing down the attributes that you want that person to have is, for me, was just as important, it turns out, as writing what I didn't want. So the first time I wrote what I didn't want, it was a very short list. The second time I wrote what I did want, and I pretty much got what I wanted and then some. So I write about a little bit of that story in Reach, from single mom on welfare to digital entrepreneur. It doesn't focus so much on the love aspect, but it's in there as well. And you can find it on Amazon as a Kindle book and also as a paper book. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel. And if you didn't enjoy it so much, well, check out my other videos and maybe one of them will hook you.